welcome to DIY with Nancy. Well, I went to Portugal this summer and I had to go to Sintra, Lisbon. Now, Sintra, Lisbon is, besides the beautiful agriculture and the history and how beautiful it is, I had to actually go to the bakery or shop where they make travesseiros. Travesseiros is it's a puff pastry. It's almost like a pillow-like shape with some filling of egg, cream, as well as almond mixture. I've been dying to show you how to make it, but I wanted to go to Periquita, have a taste of this travesseiro, this true travesseiro, and now I'm going to show you my version of how to make them. They're very easy, and I'm going to show you how to make them step by step. So stay with me, and let's get to baking. Here's the list of the ingredients you'll need for this recipe. 1 cinnamon stick, 1/4 cups of granulated sugar, 1/3 cup of water, 1¼ cups of almond flour, 6 egg yolks, and I'll be dividing the whites and the yolks later on in the recipe. 850 grams, which is 2 sheets of puff pastry. I have one here to show you. However, you want to make sure you keep the puff pastry in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. And to coat the travesseiros, I have 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. Now, these are the ingredients you'll need for this recipe, and I'll also list these ingredients in the description box down below. Let's get started with the first step. On the stove, I have a medium-sized saucepan, and I'm going to start off by placing the water, sugar, and the cinnamon stick. I'm going to turn on the heat, and we're going to wait until this forms a syrup. Now I have the heat on a medium heat. The cinnamon stick is just going to form some cinnamon flavor in the syrup. And this is going to come to a boil. You're going to wait until it bubbles, so about 4 to 5 minutes. And then once it does come to a boil, I'll show you the next step. Now the sugar syrup has formed. It's thickened slightly. It's starting to bubble. And at this point, I'm just going to turn on the heat to a very, very low heat. And the cinnamon stick has done its job. It's provided the syrup some cinnamon flavor. I'm going to remove the cinnamon stick. Be careful because it's very hot. And now I'm going to add the almond flour. So I'm just going to pour all the almond flour into the syrup. And I'm going to give it a mix. Again, I have it on a very low heat. I'm going to stir in the almond flour together with the syrup. And you're going to continue stirring until it's well combined. You'll see it forms a slight paste. And then we have about one more ingredient to go, and then the filling is done. So this is what we're forming, the filling for the travesseiros. Okay, so I have the almond flour well combined and the paste has formed. And now I'm going to move on to the next step. So I'm going to turn off the heat, let this slightly cool while I move on to the next step in separating the egg yolks and the egg whites, which we're going to be adding the egg yolks onto the almond pastes. So I've turned off the heat. Let's move on to the next step. Now what I'm going to do is separate the egg yolks and the whites. I'm going to be using the 6 egg yolks. So to separate them, all I'm going to do is, the way I do it is, I'm going to separate the whites into a separate bowl. I'm going to just place it in my hand. If you have an easy way to do it, by all means, this way I get all the whites out. All right, and then I place the yolks into a separate bowl. I'm going to continue separating the yolks and the whites, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, I have all the yolks. One broke, that's okay, because we're going to mix it together before we add it into the almond paste. So let's move on to the next step. Now I have the 6 egg yolks. I'm just going to mix them together really well. Now I have the egg yolks I'm going to be mixing into the almond paste. Now I have the heat turned off and I'm going to pour in the eggs, or the egg yolks rather, very slowly. Now I don't strain my eggs, I just pour them in very slowly and combine it with the almond paste. So that's what I'm going to do here. Again, I have the heat off and I'm going to add the eggs very slowly and mixing it as I pour it in. Now you're going to mix this until it thickens on a very low heat. You're going to do this for about a minute or so. Now, if you have it any higher than a low heat, let's say to a low to medium heat, it can burn, and you'll get that burn chunks into your filling for the travesseiros, and you want to avoid that. So very, very low heat. I've been mixing the mixture here, which is the filling for the travesseiro, which is the almond and egg and sugar syrup. I've been mixing it for about a minute. I'm going to turn off the heat at this point. I'm going to let it come to a lukewarm temperature. It is going to thicken, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, everyone, I've had the filling for the travesseiros set aside for about 25 minutes. It's now lukewarm. But look how it's thickened. Look at that filling. This is going to be placed in the puff pastry. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to fill the travesseiros and how I form them. So I'm going to set aside the filling. And here I have, I'm going to be using 2 sheets of puff pastry. And each sheet is about 425 grams. You want to make sure you keep your puff pastry in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. So what I'm going to do here is just open up the puff pastry sheet. You want to be very gentle. Now, if you have a few cracks, don't worry about it. You can always put that together, and I'll show you how. Very careful. All right, now here is my puff pastry sheet. Like I said, if you see that few cracks, don't worry about it. It's easy to put together. You don't want to use, my hands are quite warm, so you don't want to put your hands on it too much. Let me just move this aside. What I'm going to do is using a pizza cutter, I'm just gonna go right along the center. I'm gonna eyeball it, just like that. All right. And now I'm going to use each sheet, and I'm going to place, how I do it is just slightly different. This is how I learned how to make it, is place a little bit on the center using a tablespoon of the filling, and then rolling it and placing it on a baking sheet with parchment paper. Now here I have everything I need. I have a baking tray with some parchment paper. I have the puff pastry, and I have the filling. I'm going to start off by filling the puff pastry, and I'm going to show you how I roll the puff pastry and place it onto the baking tray. At this point, you want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do here is just using a tablespoon, and just place about a tablespoonful of the filling just in one of the, just at the beginning here. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to move this aside. So what I'm going to do is take the puff pastry, flip it over just like that, just right over the filling. And then I'm going to press down just like that. And I'm going to fold it one more time, just like that. So once I have the filling and formed twice, so I filled the filling, I flipped it over, and I'm just going to cut it right to the edge, just like that. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm using the parchment paper that came with the puff pastry. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press down on the edges, just like that. And the other one as well. Just gonna press it down. And then I'm going to flip it over, just like this. And then once I flip it over again, I'm gonna press down. The other side as well. And then I'm gonna place it onto my baking tray, just like this. I'm gonna continue filling the puff pastry, and again, I'm using 2 sheets. So this is my first sheet. I have another sheet. So this will make about 8 travesseiros. So I'm gonna continue filling the puff pastry sheet, and then I'll show you when it's ready to go into the oven. My first tray of travesseiros, which is 4 travesseiros out of 1 puff pastry sheet, is ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna bake it at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes or until I see it's lightly golden brown. Then I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven. Here are the travesseiros out of the oven. I have the first 4 out, the other 4 still in the oven. And I'm going to let them cool for about 2-3 minutes, enough where I can handle them. And then I'm gonna roll them in some granulated sugar and show you what they look like inside. Now we're ready for the last and final step. The travesseiros are still warm. I'm gonna be rolling them in some granulated sugar that I'm gonna place into a platter here. And I'm gonna roll the travesseiros into the granulated sugar and place them on my serving platter. Just easy and simple. They're nice and flaky, just like that. I'm gonna place them just like that. Shake off any excess sugar. And there we have it, travesseiro. Place it here on the platter. I'm gonna continue coating travesseiros with some granulated sugar, and then I'm gonna break into them and show you what they look like inside. Okay everyone, Travesseiros de Sintra are ready to be served. I'm gonna break into one and show you what it looks like inside. Let me set this aside here. Now, for the best part, let me show you what the travesseiro looks like. First of all, it's like a pillow-like. It's perfect. I'll break into one. So flaky. Look at that. The cream inside with this puff pastry is really a delicate and delicious treat. And there you have it, everyone. That's my travesseiros, my version. They're fairly easy to put together. You make the combination of the egg and almond cream with the syrup. Let that cool a little bit. Fill in the puff pastry, roll it as I showed you here step by step, and you get this delicious pillow of puff pastry with egg and almond cream. Out of this world delicious. Enough with the talking. I have to bite into it. While it's served warm. It's a delicious, delicious pastry. This combination is just perfect. One of my favorites. And I hope you all enjoyed this recipe of my travesseiros. And if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care.